Throughout the NBA's 70-year run, there have been trades that only looked like your everyday transaction, but they unexpectedly ended up changing the game forever. So without further ado, here are the trades that changed the course of history. In the present day, international players run the NBA. Players like Nikola Jokic and Luka Doncic have completely changed the way we view professional leagues outside of the US. That wasn't the case a couple decades ago. The player who first changed all of that was none other than Dirk Nowitzki. He became the best player in Germany and was selected to partake in the Nike Hoop Euro Tour, playing against NBA greats like Scottie Pippen and Charles Barkley. Young Dirk performed amazingly, outplaying everyone. He quickly burst onto the NBA's radar and caught the attention of the Maverick scout Don Nelson, who traveled all the way to Germany just to meet him. The Mavericks knew they had their guy, so they decided to play it very smart on draft night. They traded Robert Taylor, 6th overall, and shipped him to Milwaukee for Nowitzki. Nelson truly had high hopes and expectations for him. Dirk was immediately the go-to guy, making his first All-Star game in 2002. He led Dallas to their first finals in 2006, but unfortunately lost that series. They would scratch and claw their way back to the finals 5 years later, securing their first ring. Dirk played 21 long seasons for the Mavericks and won the MVP award in 2007, establishing himself as not only the greatest player in franchise history, but establishing himself as one of the greatest players in NBA history as well. In 1996, Kobe Bean Bryant was a senior at Lower Merion High School. As we all know, he would go from there directly to the NBA, even though he had tons of college offers, including one from one of the most decorated and well-known programs in sports history, Duke University. During his time, NBA teams were hesitant about drafting players this young, especially at the guard spot. Kobe was different though. He was ready to prove all the doubters wrong. Many don't know that Kobe wasn't even drafted by the Los Angeles Lakers. You see, Jerry West, who was a Lakers legend, was impressed by the talent such a young player possessed, so he elected to bring him in by any means necessary. Jerry was more than aware of the skepticism teams had surrounding drafting high school players. He also knew that Kobe wouldn't drop all the way to pick number 24, which was the Lakers' highest draft pick that year. So West would make a deal with the Charlotte Hornets to pick Kobe with their 13th pick for the Lakers, and they would in return get center Vlade Divac. Divac was one of the first Europeans to go to the NBA. He was just entering his prime, so he wasn't too happy about being traded. He even said he would retire if he was sent to Charlotte. Well, the Lakers called his bluff, and the trade went through with him now being in the Hornets uniform. Kobe had a slow start as a rookie, but would end up evolving into one of the most transcending players the game has ever seen. Yeah, I think after seeing what type of player Kobe would become, even Vlade Divac himself would have traded himself for the 18-year-old. Would you believe if I told you that a team traded away their player who had just come off winning the MVP award? Well, honestly, I wouldn't believe that either if someone told me. However, that's exactly what the Houston Rockets did after sending Moses Malone to the 76ers in 1982. He was the second best scorer that particular season, after averaging 31 points per game and leading the NBA in rebounds per game with 14.7. I know many of you are wondering, why on earth did the Rockets trade him? That answer is simple. The Rockets had new owners and they didn't want to pay him a $2 million salary. The 76ers, without a doubt, struck gold because remember, they already had Julius Erving. The duo ended up winning the NBA championship in their first season together, which is the only ring the Sixers have won to this very day. Coming into the NBA in 1959, Wilt Chamberlain was without a doubt the most dominant player the world had ever seen. During his time with the Warriors, he would set the all-time single-game scoring record by putting up an insane 100 points. Wilt is the only player to ever average over 50 points per game. There literally was no player like him, truly one of one. In 1965, he was traded to the 76ers, where he led the league in scoring for the 7th time in a row and won his first championship in 1967. In 1968, he was traded to the Lakers. While he wasn't as dominant as he was in the prior year, he was still a factor playing along Jerry West. The Lakers would go to the NBA Finals 4 times in 5 years, winning the championship in 1972, with the Finals MVP award being given to the 7-1 freak of nature, Wilt Chamberlain. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar had an astounding college career, winning 3 championships with the UCLA Bruins. They were named the National College of the Year in each of those 3 seasons, which only foreshadowed what was to come. Kareem was selected first overall, won the Rookie of the Year award, led the NBA in scoring twice in a row, and of course, won a championship with the Bucks in 1971. In the next few years, the Bucks as a team started to go downhill, so Kareem wanted to play for a better team and a much bigger market. He demanded a trade to either Los Angeles or New York. He preferred the Knicks but ended up in LA. In 1975, in what was known as one of the most lopsided trades of all time, it sent Elmore Smith, Brian Winters, Dave Myers, and Junior Bridgman to Milwaukee in exchange for Abdul-Jabbar. In 1979, the Lakers drafted Magic Johnson, and the rest is history. The historic duo led the Lakers to 5 NBA championships during the 80s. Kareem ended his career as the all-time scoring leader, winning 6 championships and 6 MVPs. Scottie Pippen played a large part in the Bulls' reign of terror during the 90s, although Michael Jordan was the unquestioned leader and best player throughout their 6 championships. Knowledgeable basketball fans know that none of that would have been possible without the 6'8" forward. Pippen played college basketball at Central Arkansas, which was a small university that didn't even compete in the NCAA. Going into his freshman year, he only stood at an even 6 foot. He mostly served as the team manager, but when his senior year flew around, he stood a whopping 6'8", making him a lock to enter the NBA draft. Although he didn't come from a powerhouse university, he was drafted 5th overall by the Seattle Supersonics. Chicago's GM at the time, Jerry Krause, thought that Scottie would be a nice fit next to Mike, who was already in his 3rd season. So he made a deal with the Sonics to get Pippen in exchange for the 8th pick in the draft. Scottie would end up being the 2nd best player on arguably the greatest team ever assembled, mostly known for his all-time great defense. He was just a very versatile player in general. He could pass, score, rebound, and he was even a solid shooter toward the middle of the end of his career. Man, that just makes me wonder, just how many championships would Jordan have won if they didn't trade for Scottie? Definitely not 6, that's for sure. Kevin Garnett was drafted 5th overall by the Minnesota Timberwolves in 1995. He became an all-star in just his 2nd season in the league. Yeah, KG was special. He led his Wolves to 8 consecutive playoff appearances before finally making it out of the first round in 2004, which just happened to be the same year he won the MVP award. Unfortunately, they didn't make the NBA Finals. To make matters worse, they missed the playoffs entirely the following season. KG was a part of the organization for 12 years and didn't see much success in terms of rings. So in 2007, he demanded a trade. He ended up being traded to the Celtics in the largest trade ever constructed for one player. They sent 5 players, 2 draft picks, and cash considerations in return. Boston had Paul Pierce and had just recently landed Ray Allen in a trade. The team was stacked, becoming the best team in the NBA with a 66-16 record. This trade gave Boston the final piece they need to get over the top. Garnett would win the Defensive Player of the Year award and lead the Celtics to their first title since 1986.